All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Today, I'm going to talk about how to make the legacy log tools that are mostly in place faster, smarter, and less expensive. Just a quick bit about me. I was a data center engineer for a while and then went to Cisco. I was there for about 9 years. I left Cisco a while back to start this company. Also worked with a lot of Fortune 1000s on network management architectures and large-scale log management as well. So what is NEO? NEO is Network Event Orchestrator. And one of the things we really focus on with our product is making it not really just about logs, right? Everything out there has this way of, just making you do post-mortem searches or making charts and graphs. And that's not what we really wanted. We wanted to build something that actually let you fix problems, right? So you go from, hey, this is broken, to, hey, this is fixed. All right, and how we do that. Number one is ingest at very high scale. The second is the ability to enrich data. So pull data around from multiple sources of information like inventory management systems and insert that as it's coming in. And then finally orchestrate a resolution. If we've seen this problem before and we know how to fix it, why don't we go ahead and fix it, right? So on the ingest side, commonly you'll see in the industry, systems will index around 1 to 300 gigs per day. 300 would be on something like very fast server with NVMe drives, right? But the standard is about 100 gigs per day per server. LogZilla Neo can index at almost 40 terabytes a day per server, and pay attention because this is important, right? Near the end, we're going to talk about total cost of ownership, and that's where that comes into play. That second thing, so now we've moved out of anything that log tools do. Why don't we go ahead and enrich that data from multiple sources of information and, like I said, solve the problem. We know how to fix it. If you take a small example of like an interface down or a duplex mismatch, which you'll see in a minute, we know how to fix those things. Let's do that, right? So three main areas for event management. Event monitoring is what you see in most products today, and that is that kind of ad hoc or post-mortem searching capability. And again, they don't fix problems, they point them out. The next part is management, and very few tools actually do this. The other problem is a lot of them will market real time, but they don't really define real time. Is that 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 minute, or 1 second? And then finally, their ability to scale is really hurting the customer. It's hurting you, right? They're not going to come in and sell you a product and say, oh, by the way, you need 500 systems to do this. No salesperson is going to do that. And then the holy grail, if you will, is let's bring it all together. Let's make the same intelligent decision as a human can, only we're going to do it in a couple of seconds. So what just happened here? This is a screenshot from a real customer. You can see some of the stuff blurred out here. Their engineering team had pushed out a change, and in a short period of time, almost 1 billion events were generated. 93% of those were duplicate events. And you can see down here that a single box was pushing the exact same event over and over again. In 1 minute, it did 70,000. In the next minute, it did 90,000. Next minute, 62,000. And this is not an uncommon thing. It happens quite often. And in the world of networking and systems, it's extremely common to have duplicate events anyway, even if there's not a data storm. But in the case of a data storm, every other product out there usually does one of two things. One, it'll lock you out. Hey, you're over your license limit, can't help you. The other thing is it may drop the events. So here's the problem. Things are going nuts and you need to find out why. And now you go to these products to find out why, and you can't even get to them. And you've now effectively just shot yourself in the foot. You're not actually able to use those tools when they were supposed to be the tools you need to actually do your job. Okay, next thing is what does it actually cost me? So if I have a piece of software that says we're going to charge you X amount of dollars per gigabyte and you can do 10 terabytes a day. Well, okay, here's my license cost. But is that all there is? No, you're going to pay for everything. You've got to pay people to manage it, the hardware to do it, power it. You've got to pay for network gear, depending on how many servers it takes. All of this stuff comes into play. And so when we look at something like total cost of ownership for Splunk, You think about the defaults here, let's say a 10 terabyte license, the cost over 3 years, assuming you paid list price $532 per gig, it's going to take 254 servers to do that. So when you actually start to factor in all of the other components, you now go from that $532 per gig to almost $11,000 per gig, because guess what? For each RU that a rack can handle, you've got to have so many racks. For so many racks, you've got to have top of rack switches. Now you're paying network admins and so on and so forth. And of course, IT labor is a huge factor in that. And remember that scale that I mentioned in the beginning, right? We're at 1 server for 10 terabytes a day in this situation. Remember I said we could go to 40, right? This is only 10. The next component here is our ability to do the pre-duplication. And what this means is when you think about that data storm that had just come in, or any duplicate events, that means that by sitting LogZilla Neo in front of every downstream receiver, not just Splunk, mind you, but everything. If it wants a log or an SNMP trap, you can put us in front of it, and then forward enriched data downstream to Splunk, ELK, QRadar, any SIM tools, any of that stuff. The effect here is you're reducing the license and hardware footprint and cost for those other systems, but at the same time, they got smarter. They get faster because they have to index less data, take CPU and memory to do that. And remember, we talked about the event enrichment with the inventory system. So now they have more information coming through as metadata tags, such as where the device is located, who owns the device, what's the contact. All of these things come into play and save your NOC a lot of time doing that initial investigation when things do go wrong. Here's the other thing. We talk to customers all the time. They cannot ingest all the data sources because they can't afford to. And that makes me sad. You're effectively not managing your network because you can't afford to manage your network. And I've been in that situation. Even before Cisco, I was at smaller companies where we were forced to just make do, right? We had 1 or 2 engineers when we should have had 6 or 7. We had 1 product when we should have had 7. So I get it, right? This is designed to help make your job easier and make those products smarter, faster, and stronger. And of course, the next question we always get is, boy, that sounds really hard. It's really literally not. LogZilla Neo itself installs in minutes. But we'll give an example here using Splunk. So you can see a Neo dashboard here, and we'll actually see it live in a minute. But if you look at the events on this screenshot, you'll see 5 million events came into the system, 70% of which were duplicates. Now we go over to the Splunk dashboard. You're getting the same data. You'll get the same counts for these things, but you have 70% fewer events in there, right? And you compare that, you're looking at 70% less, right? So now look at our license usage and our disk usage. Everything has gone down on the Splunk side, but we lost nothing in the process. On our side for forwarding, it's a simple JSON or YAML, if you prefer YAML forwarding rule, that just says, here's the server, here's where to forward it to, and we're going to dedupe at 60-second intervals, right? On the Splunk side, 2 files. This is all you add on the Splunk side to the transforms and the props, and off you go. You're done. So now you've cut those costs in half. And again, this isn't just Splunk. This is any other downstream tools, same sort of situation, right? We want to read that metadata that says, hey, this happened 100,000 times in the last minute versus having to send it 100,000 events. And with that, I will show you the interface. We told you this would be quick. We like easy around here. Let me share. And here we go. So we set this up right before the webinar started, probably about 20 minutes ago or so. And you can see there's about 3 million events in here, 74% duplicates, okay? There's firewall, network, Windows, everything's coming into this system. You've also got an eye on CPU load or IOPS or memory usage. You'll notice in LogZilla Neo, memory usage is typically extremely low. It's a very efficient system, which is part of what lends to the ability to scale so well. So if we go over here and we look at the Splunk side, you can see there's 631,000 events, right? So let's go to our dashboard. And now you'll see as soon as it finishes loading, the pie charts and the counts for those hosts, your top hosts, things like that, your grid charts, they still include all of the counts for all of the stuff that's come in, all 2.9 million of them, right? So of course, now we go look at our license uses and it's down. And now we're at 11 minutes. So we promised you a nice short webinar. There we go.